This is my very first pregnancy video and I'm so excited. And I'm so excited because I love pregnancy videos. I could seriously binge watch them like all day. I'm not even kidding. They're seriously some of my favorite videos. If you hear a noise in the background, that's my little golden retriever. He loves to get in between the blinds and look outside and for the sun to hit him. Anyway, I'm making this video because today I had lunch with a really good friend of mine. And we were talking about my baby and just kind of pregnancy in general. Right now I am like 19 weeks and 3 days, so I'm almost 20 weeks. And she was asking me, she was like, you know, how, if I was pregnant, how would I know? Like, what symptoms would I have? Is this a symptom? Would I be feeling like this? How did you feel? You know, how did you know? Blah, blah, blah. And I got to thinking about it, and mine were very different than what you normally hear. I've watched a ton of pregnancy videos, and I had never really heard what I was going through be talked about. And I do want to say that every pregnancy is different. Obviously, all of our bodies are very different. Like, my symptoms are going to be very different from your symptoms or anybody else's symptoms. So I started thinking, and I found out that I was pregnant on Christmas Eve 2017, but I started having symptoms the Wednesday before Christmas. I don't know if that was the 22nd or the 23rd. I don't remember. I just know on that Wednesday, me and my husband went to a Christmas program at our church. And while I was there, I started having really bad cramps. I did not feel good. I looked at him about 15 minutes into it and said, I think we might have to leave. But we didn't. I stuck it out, and but I couldn't figure out what was going on. We had eaten spaghetti, which I hate spaghetti, by the way, so maybe that was my body's way of being like, remember, you hate spaghetti. But we had spaghetti before we went, and while we were there, it was cold outside, so we had hot chocolate. And I just kind of kept thinking, like, maybe the food and the drink is just not sitting well with my stomach. It's like something just didn't sit right. So anyway, you know, I made it through that. Kind of didn't feel good the rest of the night. Then the next day was Thursday. So after he got off work and I got off work, we went down to where we're from, our hometown, which is about 3 hours away. I ended up driving because our golden retriever was like 6 weeks old at the time. So I just put him on puppy duty. I just put him in the passenger seat. He had to hold our puppy Wrigley. So started driving and the cramps hit. And we timed it. It was about every 30 minutes. It was about a minute long cramp. Minute to 2 minutes. It would come every 30 minutes. And I would have to like squeeze his hand sometimes. Like it hurt really bad, and to be driving, and he kept being like, you know, do you want to pull over? Do you want me to drive? And I just kept sticking it out. And we finally made it to my parents' house that Thursday night, and woke up Friday and was very sick on my stomach. Just so sick. And I was like, you know, I think I have food poisoning. And just kind of, you know, kept going through my day thinking something's wrong. I either have food poisoning or just some sort of bug, like something. Well, Saturday comes. Saturday, still very sick. And I'm like, yep, it's definitely food poisoning. But then, you know, my husband kept saying we ate the same thing. Like, we ate the same spaghetti, we ate the same salad, we ate the same bread. Like, I don't understand how you would have food poisoning and I'm fine. And I was just like, well, you know, maybe my stomach is sensitive. So I was like, it's probably just because my stomach's so sensitive and I hate spaghetti. So Saturday, still very, very sick. And then Saturday night / Sunday morning, which was like Christmas Eve morning, I mean, I was in the bathroom every 5 minutes. Like, every day it got worse and worse and worse. And by Christmas Eve morning, those early hours, I was just like, something is wrong. Something is bad wrong. I've never been that sick in my entire life. And I woke my husband up at one time when I came back in the room. And I was like, you're going to have to take me to the hospital if this doesn't stop. And I told him, I was like, I have not peed in 24 hours. Like, I'm dehydrated. Something is really bad wrong with me. And he was like, okay, well, if you don't start feeling better, this was at like 4 a.m. He was like, if you don't start feeling better by 6, let's pack up, let's go to the hospital. Well, my mom woke up at about 5, and she was like, are you still sick? And I was like, yes. And she was like, well, here, take some of this medicine. And I was like, okay. She was like, just see, maybe it'll help. It's worth it. Just please take it and just see. So I took it, and within an hour, I felt better. So by the time Logan woke up, Logan's my husband, by the time he woke up, I was feeling better because of that medicine. So I was like, okay, no, I'm good. Well, that day, Christmas Eve, we were having like lunch with his family side at his grandmother's. About an hour before we left, I started getting really nauseous. And I remember the night before, I'm kind of a hypochondriac, and I think everyone does this, but I was Googling my symptoms, and I kept seeing at the bottom of the page, like, early pregnancy symptoms, upset stomach, early pregnancy symptoms, early pregnancy feels like food poisoning, that kind of stuff. Never once did pregnancy never ran through my mind, ever. But I started getting nauseous, and then I remembered that search, that suggested searches, and I told him about it, and he was like, oh my, you could be. So he was like, how about this? He was like, after we leave my grandmother's house, he was like, let's stop by CVS, and let's just pick up a digital pregnancy test, and let's just see. So we went to his grandmother's house. The whole time I was there, I just knew I was going to throw up. I didn't, but I was so nauseous. We left, we picked up the pregnancy test, and then, we went home, we took it, and it said positive. And I was like, what? Like, this is crazy, because I didn't really have any of the normal symptoms that you hear about. It was just a very upset stomach. So I was completely shocked. And then I started calculating. I was like, the day that we would have had to conceive, I'm only like 8 or 9 days past that day. Like, how in the world did we know already? And I mean, I still get kind of shocked when I think about it, that we found out so early. Like, I feel like I've been pregnant for so long, because I found out when I was like 3 weeks, like literally maybe 3 weeks in one day, where a lot of people find out their missed period. That was not the case for me. I found out very early. So, and I wanted to make a video, because I know the videos I watched, I had no idea what I was going through was pregnancy. And I still sometimes sit here and wonder, like, did I have some sort of food poisoning? Did I have a bug? Did I just happen to be pregnant at the same time? But the fact that he ate the exact same food as I did, I feel like, and I had those cramps at the Christmas program and cramps on the way home. Like, I really do feel like that was just my early pregnancy symptom. But like I said, I wanted to make it because everyone's story is so different. I had never heard of anyone saying, that was how they felt when they found out. You hear a lot of the, oh, I found out because I loved coffee, and the sight of coffee and the smell of coffee made me sick, or my boobs were really sore, or I started peeing a lot, or my back started hurting, or I missed my period. None of that happened for me. Mine was just straight up an extreme upset stomach. So if anybody else was going through that, I wanted them to know, like, hey, that could very well be a symptom, but it very well could not be. I know how it is to watch pregnancy videos and be like, yeah, girl, I have that same symptom. I'm pregnant. Like, my boobs hurt. I'm pregnant. So you just, like I said earlier, you never know. Everybody's body is very different. Pregnancy is very different for all of us, but it very well could be that you are pregnant if you have an incredibly upset stomach. But I would love to hear what other people's stories are, because I think it's so interesting because we're all so different. And I like to hear how soon people were able to find out, because some people you find out super early. And I have some friends who did not know until they were like 2 months pregnant. And I just think pregnancy to me is just so interesting and so cool. And I would love to hear any stories that you guys have about, your symptoms, how you found out, when you found out, all of that. So if you don't mind, just, leave those in the comments below, because I would seriously love to read those.